Hello, Gavin Hoey here with another tutorial on Photoshop and Photoshop Elements. What we're going to do today is to show you how to create a center spot clear effect, just like the good old filters that Kokin and various other people used to do many years ago. After we've done that, we're going to add a vignette border. So we're going to fade the edges of this picture out to a nice subtle white. Okay, enough talk, let's crack on. This technique uses layers, so if you can't see the layers, go up to Window and choose Layers. As it stands, we've got just a single background layer. Nothing there apart from the one. Now, we actually need a few more layers, so let's go up to Layer and choose Duplicate Layer. On this duplicate layer, I'm going to add my soft focus effect. So let's type in a name that means something. Let's call it blurred. Oh, let's try and type that right. There we go, blurred, and click OK. So I've now got two identical layers. Let's get the filter and choose blur. Now there's so many blur filters to choose from. Let's keep things really simple. We'll stick to the classic Gaussian blur. It's my favourite blur filter and the one that you have most control over. But how much blur should you put in? What's the right amount? Is that enough? Is that enough? Is that too much? Well, here's a little guide that can help. Have a look at the bottom of your picture, right down here where it says document, and it gives you a rough size, 21 megabytes. And what I tend to do is I tend to use that as my rough setting in the radius, more or less. Just click OK and that'll blur the image up. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it gives you a sort of guide to get you going. So now we have a really blurry image. Here it is, you can see the layers now blurred, and underneath it is the original sharp picture. So to bring some of that sharp picture back through, I'm going to use a layer mask. Now Elements users, bad news, you don't get layer masks, but you do get the eraser tool, and it kind of works in the same way. Okay, let's go to Layer, and we'll go with Layer Mask and Reveal All. And that adds in a layer mask, a little white box to the side. You also notice that your colours have changed to black and white. That indicates that you're definitely working on a layer mask, that's good. Grab yourself the paintbrush tool and drop the opacity down to about 50%, very roughly. There we go, yep, 51, close enough. Now we need a great big brush, so let's get the brush and we'll increase the diameter, quite high, 1200, yeah, even a little bit bigger if we can, just a touch, 1400, marvellous. And then click roughly in the middle. It doesn't have to be exact. And if the centre of interest in your picture isn't in the centre, you can always, go wherever it is. But mine's roughly in the middle, so we'll add one click in. Now, because the brush is only set to 50%, you get a slightly clear spot appearing. Okay, let's get a bigger brush still. Yeah, they do them, right the way up to about 1500, which is about maxed out. And then line it up with your first one, more or less, doesn't have to be exact, and click again. Again, because this brush is still set at 50%, you'll find the outer edges of this brush are slightly clear, but the image in the centre becomes clearer still because you've got the two clicks both at 50% overlapping. And it's quite a nice way of building up an effect. On the Layers palette, you'll see our little spots appearing like that. Now, the beauty of using adjustment layers and layer masks is that you can then change to a smaller brush size. Let's drop that down a little bit. And we'll change colour to white, and anywhere where it's gone a little bit too sharp, like on this blade of grass here, I can just gently blur that in, like that. And anywhere if it hasn't gone clear enough, I can swap back to black and just paint a bit of black just to bring that in. So I can paint on this layer mask and fine-tune the effect until I get it absolutely spot on. Okay, so that's the centre spot clear effect. Let's add in the vignette. Up to Layer, go with New and New Layer. Okay, I get a chance to name it. Let's see if I can type this one right. Vignette, lovely, that'll do. Click OK. And just check, yep, there it is, our empty layer, sitting there quite nicely. I need to make an elliptical selection. Now, at the moment I've got the rectangular selection tool, the rectangular marquee active, but if I click and hold it, I'll get some other options, and the next one down is the elliptical marquee, which is good for making circles and ovals. Starting in the top left corner, I'm just going to drag a selection out just down towards the bottom right corner. Not all the way, just more or less in the rough direction. There you go, about right. But it doesn't quite line up in the centre. That's okay, it doesn't matter. Grab the inside of the selection. As long as you haven't changed tools, you can float this around and put those little marching ants wherever you want, roughly in the middle. About there. Yeah, that'll do. That looks good. Okay, now I need to soften the edge of this line because selections are very hard-edged lines. And I soften it by going to Select, Modify, and choose Feather. Now, how much should you put in here? Well, lots. Lots and lots and lots. So, 150 pixel feather. Watch what happens to my selection at 150 pixels. Did you see it? No, not really. It kind of just, it's small, it's insignificant, but the difference is enormous. That's really softened this line down. But in Photoshop, you just don't quite see anything exciting. Always a bit disappointing, that bit. Never mind. Okay, so select and inverse. Now we've got the outside selected. We need to put some colour in there. I've got purple as my foreground colour. Well, I suppose it ties in with the picture, but it's not what I want. I want white. So the quickest way to get white is a very, very small black and white square just underneath the colour palettes. Click that and your image, your colours will set to black and white. Click the curly arrow and it'll put white as your foreground colour. Okay, up to edit, down to fill with the foreground colour, click OK. And hey presto, your image fills with white inside the selection, and you can see the effect of that feathering now. It's a lovely gentle feather. Select and deselect, and your image is done. So what do we do? Well, back to the start. We started with our straight picture, then we added the center spot clear, and finally the vignette. And hey presto, we have a really nice image. Okay, thanks for watching.